Hi, it's Hillary. If you hear a storm behind me, yeah, we're getting one. It's looked like it's gonna been raining for 3 days now, and we get like a little shower. Now we got the thunder. Here comes the storm. But anyway, welcome to my channel, my newly resurrected channel that I haven't figured out what name it is going to be. Right now it's still Lazy Lima DIY, but uh, we'll see what it's going to be sometime in the near future. Anyway, today's post is basically my library story. The New York Public Library is undergoing some proposed funding cuts, which they can't afford to lose. And they are asking people to share their library story, and they've been posting it to Instagram. I don't know if they're posting it anywhere else. That's the social media I have. And they sorry. So I thought, since my library story begins at New York Public Libraries, I feel like I have to share because it's a good story. So if you don't know, I was born in New York. I was born in the Bronx, and every week we would go to the library and check out. I remember I always wanted to check out like 400 books, and I think we would get, I don't know, 6, 12, something, whatever. And then every week we'd take those back and get some more. And I was really interested in getting a library card. I felt like, I'm a library patron and I deserve a library card, even though I was like 4. And so we asked the librarian, like, what do I have to do to get a library card? And which we know this was a long time ago because I was 4 and I didn't have no kind of ID. So she said, well, you have to be able to write your name on the library card. Although, yeah, you do have to have ID, I think, for a library card now. I've got so many, I don't even know. I went home and I learned how to write my name. And I was 4 and I came back to the library and I could write my name. It was like this big. Whoa, it was like this big on a piece of paper this big. But I mean, like, my name took up the whole card, but I wrote it. And so they issued me a card and I was a New York Public Library patron. Yay, at 4. And so I do remember going to the big downtown library, the one with the lions, which I think are named Patience and Fortitude. And I remember being really obsessed with the lions more than the books because I already had, my own public library. And this library is way too big for a little 4-year-old girl. So that was that. And after that, when I was 12, we moved to California. I worked in my junior high library. I worked in my college library. I worked, one of my first real jobs after graduating college was in a college library. And I worked in several bookstores. So I feel like books are kind of a thing. So the reason why I think library is important, well, first of all, let's talk, why are they getting the funding cut? I feel like if there's anything we should overfund, it's like libraries and teachers. Why don't we just like overfund them, just give them way too much money, and then track and see what happens over the course of a decade? Let's just do it. Who's in? Anyway, so sorry, went off on a tangent. I thought, like, as I was putting this video together and figuring out what I was going to say, I got really interested in the reading habits of Americans because I remember reading something about there was a certain percentage of people that hadn't read a book in like 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. And I was like all kinds of appalled. If that's you, I'm not appalled at you. I was just appalled at the statistics. You do you. Is there something? But the number of books read by Americans per year is dropping. It's currently at about 12. And that's the number of books started. So if you see a statistic that says, oh, the average American reads 1 book a month, the average American starts 1 book. 12 for a total of 12 books per year. Number of books completed is around 4 or 5. And that's per American per year. And the number of people who haven't read a single book in a year is growing. And currently it's about 23% of Americans have read 0 books in the last year. However, then I got interested in how many books successful people read. And CEOs, successful people, like Stephen King, what's the Facebook guy, Zuckerberg, even Elon Musk, who I feel it's, um, uh, uh, is, is he a citizen now? I don't know. Um, uh, who else? Warren Buffett, Oprah, of course. They read about like somewhere between 50 and 80 books a year. Stephen King reads about 80 books a year. Um, and that's a lot. I read about 70 to 75 because I realized while I can read more than that, um, my retention for what I've read drops severely after 75. So, uh, and that's since I've retired. So I do read more now that I retired, and most of my books now are on audio. So, and that's still reading. Don't don't be bringing that kind of nonsense like, well, it's not a book. It is a book. Um, so libraries, I feel like they invite you to read any book because when you go and you buy a book, you're looking for a book that you're going to enjoy. So you can pick a book and it's going to be likely a genre that you're already interested in or by an author that you're interested in that you've already read that has a proven track record with you because you're shelling out money and you don't want to shell out money on something you may or may not like. I don't know. It happens, but you're not going to willingly go into that going, I'm looking for a book that I don't want to finish and I'm really going to hate. um, and, what was I going to say about that? Oh, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought because I'm listening to the thunderstorm behind me. Um, anyway, with the library, you can just check out anything that just remotely interests you. So if you want to find out about fishing or ghost hunting or Buddhism or spy school or medieval poetry, you can just go out in the library, find where that section is, check out a book, and you don't even have to read it. You don't have to read the whole thing. You can be one of those 12, that could be one of your eight, what did I say? It was 12 to 5. So that could be one of the 7 books you didn't even finish. But I mean, like, maybe you just want to read 3 of the medieval poems and get a feel for it. Or maybe you want to know about fly fishing or whatever. And it gives you that freedom to just be able to look at anything. So that's the magic part for me about libraries, because I will literally check out any book. It's like, oh, this looks interesting. It's about gerbils. Okay. I don't know anything. What's the difference between a gerbil and a hamster? I don't know. Check out a book. Okay. So in this current climate of books, challenged and banned books, which by the way, both then and now, you want to get me to not read a book. Tell me I can't. Tell me it's challenged. Tell me it's going to be banned, and I'm going to read that book. And I want to talk about also the I don't know what to call it, like the underground book passing club. So if there's a book that I just remember this happening when I was in 7th grade. Reading Judy Blume's Forever. I should not have read that book at that age. But I did because I had read all of her other books. So what the heck? Why was I not going to read this one? And I was not a censored reader. So nobody cared that I was reading the book, and it was fine because I had a brain and I know books and real life are 2 different things. And there were people in my school that weren't allowed to read forever. And so those of us who had our own copies, which I don't think I had my own copy. I think I just read somebody else's. I'm not sure. Yeah, I really don't know. But those of us who had copies, we would pass them along to the people that didn't have copies. So you may think you're getting people to not read books and banning books in schools and everything, but those books are still getting passed around, especially if it's got any kind of salaciousness in it. Then there you go. Anyway, considering our current climate of books being challenged and banned, I feel like the people who are making those decisions are using fear as their metric. A lot of the books that are being challenged and removed are ones that are about, for lack of a better word, othered people, LGBTQ, transgender, transgender is part of that's the T, African American, Chinese. I don't know why. I honestly don't. And I feel like that's the books that are being, those books that are being challenged, that are about other people, are being challenged by the people that are the default, the ones who were represented AF all through the pages. And I feel like, why don't they want me to read about me? Because when I was a kid, I feel like I was really trying to go back of all the books I've read, especially as a kid, books that I read that had people that looked like me. And the only one I could think of was, oh gosh, I can't think of his name. I think it's Jack Ezra Keats, who wrote A Snowy Day. And that is a picture book. So I would have been about 4 or 5 or younger reading that book. And I don't remember anything else. I remember somebody trying to get me to read Brown Girl, Brownstones when I was about 13, but the book got wet and then I got grossed out by it, so I didn't read it. And they were always about like Black kids living in the projects, or, you know, living on a scrap of land, and like this totally hard scrabble life that I just didn't have. And I was like, I didn't relate. But that was the perception that that's what we wanted and that's what we were living. And so, and it was, you know, a person that looked like me on the cover. So why wouldn't we want to read it? Yeah, I went off on a tangent that I did not intend to go on. But I meant to go into representation, because representation is really important. And we want to think that it's all about DEI, and it's not, because Rick Riordan, he got started writing the Percy Jackson series because most of the books for young boys were all centered around sports. And if you were a young boy and you didn't like sports, what was going to interest you enough to read a book? It wasn't Junie B. Jones, I can tell you that. So he started writing the Percy Jackson, which is all about adventure and friendship and overcoming obstacles. And they're great books. I've read, oh, good Lord, I've read 2. I've read 2. And I feel like the lack of reading and the lack of reading material available for kids leads to a lack of, my biggest pet peeve is a lack of critical thinking skills. Critical thinking is the skill that allows us to analyze data, to make an informed judgment, not just a judgment, but an informed judgment. For example, you can be like poo-poo on vaccinations because you're like, they're full of chemicals. But if you don't understand what a chemical actually is, which is something that has a definable composition like air or water, those are chemicals. So if you can break it down into smaller components, it counts as a chemical. I'm really glossing over it, so scientists don't come at me, but you know what I mean. Just sit back and take your hands off the keyboard. So I feel like critical thinking is not a skill we can afford to lose. And to be a critical thinker and properly analyze data, you have to review without bias. That's the important part. So if you base your hypotheses on what you already believe to be true, then you will only find finite evidence that supports your theory. So reading exposes us to different ways of thinking and problem solving. And it also teaches us to be more empathetic, because we can read stories about people who are different than us. And by doing that, we can find our shared commonalities. And, oh, I just had a thought. That shared commonality thing, maybe that's what the banned book people are really afraid of. They're going to find something they have in common with people they don't like. Maybe that's it. I mean, like, you know, if your kid finds something they have in common in a book about transgender, then, oh my God, your kid's going to be transgender. Maybe that's what they're afraid of. I don't know. That deserves some more thought. What do you think about that? Anyway, so I feel like the things that I deal with on a daily basis, and the people and the issues that I deal with on a daily basis, I feel can be traced down to a lack of critical thinking skills. And you know, previously, like things that happened a few years back, 4 years ago, I feel like a lot of that was a lack of critical thinking skills. We'll just put that in a box and put that on the shelf, and y'all can take that out and unpack that later, okay? But going back to libraries, I feel like libraries are great for the community. And I feel like if you don't go to the library often, you may not know what is available at your local library. So I'm going to tell you some of the programs that are available at your local library. Okay, you ready? You want to? I'll slow it down. There's meeting space. So usually it's free, and you can use it only if you're not making money from it. So if you want to have a meeting of your chess club and you're not, charging people to come in and learn to play chess or something, then you can use the meeting space. Your local library may differ. And it might be that, hey, you can charge somebody and use the space, but then you also have to pay us or something. They will often have exercise classes or like meditation classes. They've had, some libraries have had like chair exercise classes for seniors. There's also like gaming clubs, like if you play, I went to one of the libraries and they had like a Monopoly club or a Monopoly tournament or something. There's also like chess I mentioned. There's also things like language learning. A lot of the bigger, more equipped libraries will have like a Rosetta Stone thing that you can sit and look at a computer and put the headphones on. And Rosetta Stone I was trying to learn French that way, has a program where you can speak into the microphone. It'll tell you how close you are in pronunciation to the word they just asked you to say. However, my library that I was doing that at took the whole thing out, that whole room out, post-COVID. So I don't know what your library may have, but check it out. They also have sometimes tax prep and forms. Sometimes like one of the libraries in the county. Oh no, that couldn't have been in the county. We got like 150 counties here in Georgia. One of the libraries was offering free tax preparation for seniors, and they had an outside group come in and they were using the library as a meeting space. The thing I use the library a lot for is printing and scanning services, because I hate buying printing cartridges, and I go by a library pretty much every day. So I can pop in, I can pay my 10 cents and get a copy of things, and that's awesome. I also check out a lot of cookbooks because I like cooking and I like reading cookbooks and I like pretending I'm going to make everything I see that I like in the cookbook. So I will scan the cookbook. I have a cookbook thumb drive, and I'll scan the recipes that I want into the thumb drive, and that all happens at the library. And scanning at my library is free. And my favorite library has a searchable PDF. So you can also get audiobooks, and audiobooks, you don't even have to go into the library. I mean, most libraries will have books on CD. Some of them even still have books on tape. I don't know how you play them. Maybe you roll the thing around your ear and you can hear them. I don't know what still plays a cassette. But through your library card, you can get access to Libby, which used to be Overdrive, if you're familiar with that, Hoopla, and I can't remember, I think Cloud Library is another one. Your library may use a different software, but through that you can check out library books. You don't even have to go to the library. I have so many books on on my hold list for audio. It's not even funny. I think I'm at 460. And you can also pre-order. So the book I'm listening to now is called Red Side Story by Jasper Fforde. It is the sequel to Shades of Grey, which is a totally fascinating book. And if you haven't read Jasper Fforde, I'm going to link him below because y'all need to be reading him. He is amazing. And I have to read his books, each one of his books, like 2 or 3 times, because he's one of those where like every other word is extraordinarily important. And if you miss it, you like 14 pages later, you're like, wait, what? And then you have to go back. So Jasper Fforde, we're going to link him below. Audiobooks. And you can collect libraries like I do, because there's a lot of libraries that will give you a free library card or a library card for like, say, $30 for a year. And that gives you access to not only their print books, if you are actually in that state, county, city, but their audiobooks. They also have large print books there. They have magazines and newspapers there. Depending on how big your library is, it will make a difference on how big that newspaper and magazine selection is. Oh gosh, I'm already on 20 minutes already. I thought, oh, this is going to be quick like a bunny. Um, Culture club passes, which may be called a different thing in your library, but usually there's like a free passes that are for like the zoo or maybe even the symphony or the museum. And they get a certain number of passes, and you can go in. One of my libraries, you have to go in. The earlier you go in, the better chance you have. If you go in around 2 o'clock, you're probably not going to get any passes. Um, and that allows you to take your kids to the museum for free. Although most museums, if you go and and you talk to the office and you're like, I really want to get into your library, but I don't have enough money. I don't have money to pay $25. You can usually get in for free. There's usually a program or donation or something that's library or museum access. There's also movies and CDs. For the longest time, most of the music that I have on that's newer music that it is uh, post Napster. Oh gosh, I just aged myself all the heck up. I got from the library. Because I don't like to pay for things because I'm cheap. And so a lot of the CDs, sometimes they're a little, take them out, look at them before you check them out. Because people are not good with stuff that they don't have to pay for. So some of them are scratched up, but for the most part, they're pretty good. Some libraries you can get puzzles, and you don't even have to check them out. You just say, I'm taking this puzzle, and they're like, thank you, bring it back when you're done, and they just trust you. Some libraries don't even check out their mass market paperbacks, the smaller pocket books. They just let you take them and they trust that you're going to bring them back. And if you don't, they don't cry over it. If you have small children, there's usually a storytelling time. Sometimes there are book clubs or movie clubs. One of my libraries has a once a month movie watch, and then you talk about the movie. There's also book sales, which are incredible. You can also use sometimes study space. They'll have like a kiosk with like a table and a chair and outlets so you can plug in your laptop. There are also those are private study rooms, and sometimes you just have to go ask at the circulation desk, hey, I need a study room, and they'll tell you, like mine that I use is usually about 2 hours, and you can have it longer if nobody comes in and says, I want that room. There's also genealogy materials at some of your bigger libraries. New York Public Library has a fascinating genealogy section. I was walking around, this was in 2018. I went back to the New York Public Library for the first time since I was a child. And it was a totally different experience. And I didn't even know, like, normally I go into the library and I know where I'm going because it's like, I know what the codes are. I know what the shelving numbers are, and but that one I didn't even know. And I ended up in a section of New York history, and it just had names in books. So I went and I found like one of my family names, and it was actually my family. And that was fascinating, but it doesn't give you a lot of material. It's just basically a name and a year and like a county. So it wasn't like things I didn't already know. And if you live in a big city, you probably have the option of both a city library and a county library. And you can easily get access to both two libraries, more books, more audiobooks. Yay. So like when I was in San Diego, there's San Diego Public, San Diego County Library. Okay, this is going on for, it's going to be 25 minutes. So let's just end it. That's my library spiel. And if you want to help the public library system, go out tomorrow and get a library card. Get as many as you can in your city, state, county. And you can also, academic libraries, university libraries, they usually have you become a patron or a friend of the library or something, and you can purchase a library card to use, and you can have access to their library if you need academic material, research or whatever, or and there are other libraries like that, like law libraries and medical libraries and things like that. What was I going to say? Oh, that's a tangent. I'm not going to go off on the medical library. So yeah, go get a library card. Go get one now. And if I find the list, somebody sent me a list of libraries that you can get a library card where you don't actually have to be in the county. You can get a free library card to have access to their audiobooks. I will give you that information in the comments. So thank you for listening to me go on and on about my first love, libraries. And I hope that you have a great day. And if you have ideas for me to name the channel, go ahead and pop them in the comments, because I'm just like, I don't know. Hopefully let's set a goal. Let's have a name for the channel by the end of June. Okay. That's my goal. I put it here. I spoke it into existence, so it's going to happen. So thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate you, and bye till next time.